Hi guys, today is the 6th of November 2019 at 5 minutes past 7 in the evening over here in the UK. And we've had October 31st, November the 3rd, November the 5th all pass. Nothing, well, can't say no significant events happened, but nothing that we were watching for in terms of tsunamis, earthquakes, blackouts, war, so on and so forth. But tomorrow is November the 7th, and I've done a lot of work on the 7/11 interpretation. That also stems from the number 27, where the 2 in the number 27 can be broken down into two ones, which would represent the number 11. So I'm just going to quickly point out, not everywhere, but in just a few places where the 7/11 reference appears to me. Now, first I'm going to point out the dog, because I haven't talked about this one a lot before, but the two legs here, they make the 11, and then this leg actually goes across to the end of the jaw here, and that's where it kind of fades out, and then it continues. So it looks like a number 3, but just here, there's a gap. There isn't actually any marking. So our brains fill in that gap and make it the number 3, whereas it could actually be the number 2, or V, for example, where the teeth are inside the mouth. That's a V shape. But a 2, so we've got a 7 down here. Now that could be 27 forwards or 27 backwards. Either way, it's there. So keeping an eye out for 11/7, which is tomorrow. The 666 barcode, we've talked about that already. When flipped upside down, it's 999. Add 999 together, and you get 27. Another 7/11 reference. As the video plays on, the iPet Goat title is shown, and at the end, we can see where the number 2 appears. And if we was to flip it upside down, just to rotate it that way, it would be, again, 11/7 potentially, with the 2 representing the number 11 and the T representing the upside down 7. So again, in this scene, there's at least 3 possible interpretations for 11/7. Then we get inside the classroom, and we talked about this before. When the Bush character is displaying his hands, he shows a series of 10, 10, oh, I missed it, sorry, just go back a bit. Try and catch it, it's a bit quick, and it keeps jumping for some reason. So a series of 10, okay, so it's 10, 10, and then you get the 7. 3 on this hand, 4 on that hand. So again, that could be a possible reference to 11/7. So keeping an eye out. We'll get onto the chalkboard, and the hangman may give us another reference, potentially to 11/7, with the X and the X making 20. Ignore the 0, and you've got 2, and then 2 can break down into 2 ones, so potential for 11, and then the dividing line, and then what looks like a potential IV for 4, or V for 5, or a sideways 7. So since we've passed 11, 4, and 5, I've only got 11/7 left in terms of the November interpretation. Obviously, if November 7th passes, the 27 reference would then be more likely to refer to a date, as in November 27th or December 27th. But that's for looking at then, if we can. But now, looking at this, even in the shark, the mouth making up the 2, and following on from that, the tail building up the number 7. So again, a possible reference to 11/7, with the 2 representing the 11. Obviously 11/5 has passed now. I'm just going to quickly go back to that for a second, because I can see it here on the Bush character's head, and I know that there's a representation for it on the eyebrow here. Now, since 11/5 has passed, there's only, again, this could only go into a date interpretation now, which would be the 25th. So that would be either the 25th of November, but more likely the 25th of December is what we're looking at with the Donald Trump situation, the potential shooting. Um, I'm not sure if that connects with the Obama winning the war on Christmas, but I'll keep an eye out around that time. Obviously, there'll be a lot of other things potentially unfolding before then, so it may be something I have to come back to and remind people of. But even just from here, you can see this backward 7 or upside down L. That could give us a reference to December, if it's talking about the letter L, and that's the 12th month. And then I've talked about how this before could make number 2 or the number 5. Well, if it's both, then that's 25. It matches up with the 25 reference on the hair here. And if this is L for December, then we've got a D for this. Sorry, if this is L for the 12th representation, which is December, then this could also be a representation of the 12th month. Excuse me, representation of the 12th month with the letter D here for December. So December 25th and Donald Trump. Looking out for that. But going back to 11/7, just to once more point out where I've seen it. 2 marks on the head over here, an upside down 7 mark on the other side of the head, just here. 11/7. Over here, potential 11/7. Again, you could make that a 25 with the 2 and then the 5, but 11/7's coming up first, so looking at that. In the back here, the 2 ears and the number 7 in the vine leaves. Again, possible reference to 11/7. So it's repeated consistently. Even in the apple now, I'm thinking about it, if we're not looking at the whole thing, at one point there is a possible representation for 11/7 just there as well. Also, just as I'm on this anyway, 11/10, looking out for a potential tsunami event, whether that's involving Kilauea or whether that's the earthquake event, which involves the Hudson River and cutting off lower New York, I guess, from the rest of it by taking out all the bridges and tunnels along the Hudson River. But we've got the 11 and we've got 1, 0, and that's repeated again. At least I think that's repeated again. That sequence of numbers repeat again in association with the tsunami again. 11, 1, 0. So that could be November 10th. So keep an eye out for that. But obviously, as I said before, the 11/7 reference comes up a lot, and the common theme where it appears is darkness. So where it appears in this scene, we've got emergency lighting, darkness. Where it appears in this scene, we've got starlight, darkness. Where it appears in, this scene, again, the scene goes dark. So I'm looking at kind of like blackout scenarios. And again, just to repeat that, if this is a possible representation of 11/7 as well, considering the half kind of makes it a bit separate at the same time. So if that is 11/7, then another similar theory of darkness, where this is just illuminated by torchlight and the rest of it is dark. So that's what I'm looking out for. If the beginning of the video is any indication as to where the potential blackout could be, then I've talked about how this scene, I think, relates to Texas, with the kids in cages represented by the child goat, which is a kid in a box. The power plant meltdown in the background, I think, could be connected to the Rio Grande power plant. As I've mentioned, there are other power plants. I'm watching the Oconee power plant, the Indian Point power plant, which is along the Hudson River. So again, that would tie in with the splitting of New York kind of theory. Excuse me. I think that's really pretty much it in terms of how I think it. And obviously the fencing and everything connects to the border, which is obviously along the Texas border with Mexico. So those are just, a few points where I think it may be giving us an indication of Texas, plus the guns. Obviously there's guns all over the state, but Texas is very well known all over the world for being a gun state. And obviously the next thing that we get onto is George Bush, also representing Donald Trump, but George Bush is from Texas. It's all weird, it's all convoluted, because George Bush is from Texas. When the 9/11 events happened, he was in Florida, and Donald Trump has just changed his, residence from New York to Florida, where, if George Bush is representing Donald Trump as well, and the school is in Florida, then it's a potential to say that these events could happen while Donald Trump is in Florida, and it just makes it more convenient that he's moved his address there. Plus, there's the earlier release of the Putin propaganda video, which showed a missile attack on Florida. You could even potentially make the word Florida out of the parts of the hangman, starting with the F, obviously. You can make an L, an O, I's in there, D's in there. You can even make an A. But putting that aside, a lot of things may be converging to give us a link with this video. So as I say, I'm not exactly sure of where of 11.7 being blackout scenario, but that appears to be the common theme where I see this number 11.7, and obviously again just seems like it may connect to Texas. So keep an eye out tomorrow, you guys. I hope nothing happens. Pray nothing happens. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you. I hope you could hear everything over. It hasn't been too bad, but I know there is a bit of fan noise. Apologies for that.